Welcome to... What's up, guys? Welcome to the Derek O'Shea Show. You are in for a treat as we watch the State of the Freaking Union together. This is the Derek O'Shea Show. Welcome to the revolution. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Derek O'Shea Show as we wait for what's about to happen before our eyes. The word of the day is inflation. If he says it, you know what to do. We are going to scream together, and it's going to be marvelous. Get in the chat. Let me know how you're feeling. We are currently live on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and Rumble. and Rumble.
Here is oftentimes when you're in the chamber, you're watching to see who's the kind of sitting out on the aisle, because there's a lot of members who flock to that. They like to do it. Unfortunately, because of COVID, they are in assigned seats now, so it's a little less crowded than what you would kind of typically expect.
Can't game the system, show up early, pull an Elliot angle,
Exactly.
like try to be in the camera shot. You can't do that anymore?
So Joe Biden, I'm sure President Biden will find a way to mingle.
we expect to see the introduction. That's for sure. We expect to see at some point soon the introduction, of course, of First Lady Jill Biden. We've been taking some of these shots as we are living in these live pictures here of
as we wait
she has a guest.
for what's
We've
about to
talked
have
a lot
come.
about the ambassador of Ukraine, and Jeremy Bash, you've referenced what
We'll
her
wait
presence
together
means,
as one.
The participation of her here, but there are other guests.
Might play
as
some
well.
video games.
There are kids from, well, at least one child.
That might be happening. Put a little NBA jam as I wait. That sounds fun, Nikki.
On kids, for example, you have
All right.
Frances Haugen, you know, the Facebook whistleblower, she's become known, who will be attending as well, fitting into the president's speech as it relates to social media and the impact that these social media platforms can have. You have a nurse from a progressive care unit, again, pandemic related.
So we wait
as well as,
together.
Other students and others who are important to the president's speech. I talked with one former speechwriter to a different president earlier today who was talking about you want to weave those stories into these remarks, because in many ways you are not just laying out policy, you're telling a story. You're telling a story to Americans, and you want them to be compelled.
Personal. Right?
Personal.
You want it
Yeah.
to be to have something be a face to these issues instead of just broad strokes that are hard to understand. I think it's really interesting here. You have Senator Joe Manchin talking to Lisa Murkowski.
Gonna play a little NBA jam as we wait. I hope you don't mind.
Mitt Romney talking to Susan Collins. This is some votes for KBJ right there.
I mean,
Justices of the Supreme Court.
Okay, so let's see what. So
Supreme Court coming in hot.
Justice Kagan, Justice Kavanaugh, and I see Justice Amy Coney Barrett there.
I believe it is her first State of the Union address that she is attending. Keep in mind, there was only one Supreme Court justice present last go-round, right, because of the pandemic. Chief Justice Roberts.
There was Justice Kavanaugh shaking hands with General McConnell, who's the Chief of Staff of the Army, one of the members of the Joint Chiefs, and that's the Supreme Court members shaking hands with the Joint Chiefs. A great spectacle of American leadership. Bipartisan, nonpartisan American leadership.
But also puts them in some potentially awkward moments, Jeremy, as we've seen, when the audience around them is erupting either in applause or not. Right?
It does, and for the most part, the national security content should be bipartisan, but sometimes it veers, and sometimes they have to not applaud so they don't appear in any way to support any partisan position. Yet the president is their commander-in-chief.
Right.
He's in the chain. They are in the chain of command, that, so to speak, and they obviously have to salute Joe Biden because he's president.
Right. And obviously their presence, too, taking on such
Da-da-da-da.
an important shade, given everything
We
we've seen
wait.
overseas. Justice Kavanaugh's third State of the Union speech, by the way. And here comes First Lady Jill Biden. Let's listen.
Jill Biden's coming down.
A big hug there from the First Lady to the Ukrainian ambassador. And this is not a position with which she is unfamiliar, right? I mean, she has attended these in her capacity as the second lady in years past.
Yes.
And she was obviously here, again, for the address from President Biden last go-around. Not a formal State of the Union. This is the formal State of the Union speech. Very significant still, as these all are every year.
She's a teacher too. I mean, I think that's going to be interesting as we think about
She's
what
a
she says
teacher.
on COVID, how she responds. Does he point to
Madam
her
Speaker,
experience
the
there as well?
President's Cabinet.
And they all will be there, and they will all be applauding.
No, they want their job is for them of whether they should clap. You're right. And there are, you know, you look at somebody like Tony Blinken, right? The Secretary of State who's coming in, who's shaking hands. Who knows, you know, many of these people from his roles in different capacities elsewhere.
He was the staff director of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and of course,
Dang it.
Secretary Austin, who was before that the CENTCOM commander, so he goes deep with a lot of these members as well. And those are the two guys who are managing the U.S. participation in the NATO alliance. To stand up to
Wide open J.
I have to think that they've been consulting even, you know, not just obviously on strategy and on tactics here, but with what we will hear from President Biden as he outlines his position and really takes on Vladimir Putin as we expect him to do in this speech tonight as he has done so far.
Yeah, especially because this was a speech that had to be revised and revised and revised as things in Eastern Europe continue to deteriorate.
Right.
You know that the Secretary of State, the Defense Secretary are important figures, but at a time like this,
Let's get into
core
this.
people that he's been interacting with and talking to in the last few days. And I will also say, talking earlier about sort of President Biden having to connect with people and tell a story. People who have covered Joe Biden know he can tell a story, only because of who he is, but also because of his own life experiences, having lost children,
Guys, get in the
having
chat,
lost
let me
a
know how you're
wife.
doing.
He is someone who can dig deep and try to empathize with people in a way that others can't.
It's been really interesting
Forgive me
watching
for
so many
eating
of
my
these
steak.
cabinet members are former members of the House or have been. They're kind of embracing their colleagues in ways. You see Sheila Jackson Lee really talking to lots of folks on the end. She's kind of one of those perennial line standers that likes to get into the mix there.
And those assigned seats are being unassigned. They made it to the aisle.
Yamiche Alcindor, Anna Palmer, Jeremy Bash, I want to thank you. I want to thank all of our panelists, all of our guests and reporters who have been with us. Our special coverage continues right now with an NBC News special report.
1 year into office, facing massive challenges at home and abroad. On the domestic front, record inflation causing prices to rise and the president's approval rating to drop. Overseas, Russia invading Ukraine, a conflict that could reshape the map
Jerry,
of
what's up?
Europe.
I'm
All
feeling
this as the
fine.
nation
Just ready
tries
to
emerge from a
engage in
pandemic
this
that's taken the lives
propaganda
of nearly 1 million Americans
hailstorm we're about to
and widened political
uncover.
divisions. With
Are you ready
midterm
for the word of the day,
elections
that
only 8 months
being
away, the
inflation?
president facing a sharply divided Congress in the House chamber tonight as he makes his case to lawmakers and the American people that the State of the Union is strong.
From NBC News, President Biden's State of the Union. Live from Washington, here are Lester Holt and Savannah Guthrie.
And good evening from Washington. I'm Savannah Guthrie here with Lester Holt. And just moments from now, President Joe Biden will enter the House chamber to give his first official State of the Union address. And it comes at a moment when the world is in crisis and on the precipice. Russia has invaded its neighbor Ukraine.
You guys liking
shattering
my,
peace in Europe,
my GIF
and
I created?
unleashing a massive assault growing more brutal by the day.
I just hope
We're
I don't
on the ground
get
in
too much
Ukraine
off. Seriously,
tonight
me too.
As the world waits for what message President Biden will
Seriously.
deliver to Americans, to Ukrainians,
You like
and
that?
to Moscow tonight.
And as always, issues here at
He'll
home
be,
to grapple with. You've got the
slowly
pandemic,
going across the
rising
screen the
inflation
entire
hitting
time.
Americans hard. Any moment now, we expect the sergeant at arms to announce the president's arrival. There's a big difference from last year, and that is the size of the crowd.
Okay,
All
good.
members of Congress were invited
I
to
laughed
attend
while he made it.
tonight's address. And listen to this: masks are optional. Something we
Oh,
have
Lindsey
not
Graham
seen
and Ted Cruz
since
hanging
the
out.
start of
Always
the pandemic. Everyone in attendance was required to
couple
show a
of
negative PCR test
people.
prior to entry.
Bishoy, what up?
We're also
The
seeing
world's getting too
ramped-up
serious.
security
We
tonight.
all
The
need
fencing that went
to
up
spark.
around the Capitol following the January 6th insurrection is back.
Seriously.
With National Guard troops on standby. I want to go right to NBC's chief White House correspondent, Peter Alexander. Peter, good evening.
Lester, good evening to you and Savannah. To be clear here, President Biden's aides say there is no question.
Bishoy, what are you
that
expecting
this
from
is a
tonight's
different speech than he would have been giving just a couple of
first
weeks ago,
State of the Union?
punctuating one of the most consequential periods of his presidency. In the
I mean, I
midst
hate State of the
of
Unions with the
Russian
passion, but
invasion, only days after announcing his pick to be the
mask
first
optional,
black woman
another
on the
example of how
Supreme
great our
Court.
glorious leader
This
is.
is a
My God, I
high-stakes
know.
balancing act.
Don't you love how
I'm told, will be a
they're
dominant
pretending like
theme.
no one's going to
The
notice
president
about the
will try to
mask thing?
demonstrate his leadership on one of the greatest threats to
It's
European
kind of
stability
unbelievable.
since
It's
World
almost
War
like
II to and to deliver a rebuke to Vladimir
It's like
Putin
talking about the
for what
Great
he will call a
Reset in
premeditated
news
and
articles.
unprovoked
Like,
war.
you're just putting
And
it
we
out there.
just learned tonight that the president will
If you're not
announce that
paying
the US
attention,
will close its
I don't know what to tell
airspace
you.
to Russian aircraft. Still, his challenge this evening, a job approval, as you note, that's at an all-time low. Americans
I'm eating a steak.
dissatisfied with his handling of crime.
You gotta eat. You gotta eat good if you're about to watch what's going on. I don't want to be that person that eats on the stream, but
struggles detailing.
you know how it goes sometimes in life. So if I cut my video out, it's because I'm chewing. I don't want you.
Watching his tone tonight in this deeply divided country, officials here are previewing what they call a unity agenda, focusing on priorities that have been historically bipartisan. And Lester and Savannah, just moments ago, we learned
We peasants are just so grateful. I feel grateful just
during tonight's State of the Union
being a
the
part with
Commerce
you guys,
Secretary,
watching
Gina
our
Raimondo.
powerful and great leader Joe Biden speak
Peter,
truth
thank
to
you.
us.
We want
You
to
know,
turn now to our chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel. He is
like
in
he's doing
Ukraine's
everything he
capital
can to
city of
lower
Kiev
gas prices
tonight,
for us and
as we see at some of
keep
the
us out of
military
war
members.
and
General Milley, of course,
inflation,
in the House chamber tonight. We saw Tony Blinken.
supply chain.
Richard, you are in Kiev.
The only reason
This
I'm
is
not
a city
eating is
that
so I don't keep listening about it.
surrounded. Russian forces engaging in
Same,
a
though.
6-day brutal assault.
Literally the
one
same.
That is expected to get even worse as the days wear on. What is
I
the
should.
situation
I might be throwing this up later, so forgive me if I do.
There is a lot of concern,
And then
particularly with
if
what
I
is
do-
happening in the city of Kharkiv. And people are worried that what is happening
Same.
to the second city in this country could be the fate of Kiev. Kharkiv right now is completely surrounded by Russian forces. It is being
I've been so busy at work today that I haven't caught up on the whole Ukraine thing. Guys, any news about what's going on with Ukraine?
And then just a
You guys
short
could let me
while
know.
ago,
Besides,
according to Ukrainian intelligence, there was a
Whatever.
Russian air assault into the
what's
city
up with Savannah?
itself.
She's totally
And
gone.
they worry that this pattern could repeat itself on a city twice its size.
I think
the
she's just
city
getting
of
worn
Kiev,
out by
with
this
first
administration.
Russia encircling the city, then attacking it, and then landing troops inside. And just a short while ago, the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, made an appeal. He said that this country needs help, that without more assistance, it is not.
How many
going to
times
be
do you think
able to
Sleepy
confront
Joe will stutter?
Russia
I say
on
10
its own.
times.
Up until now, the
I think 10's
Ukrainian
a
military has
pretty
been
strong
able to
number.
keep putting up a heroic defense, but a new kind of tactic would be much more.
Yeah, cut that guy off. It's not like he's in a war-like scenario. It's time for Joe Biden to shake hands.
This walk to last quite a few minutes.
Priorities.
as it often does.
I think he'll study it.
Members of Congress
Let's keep a
and
count every time he
senators,
stutters, too.
Several members of the Supreme
I'll put a
Court
count up
cabinet.
for the stutters. And you guys
again,
keep me
no
accountable
masks
if I
in
miss
the
a
chamber
stutter.
Tonight. Well, masks were optional, and many have chosen not to wear them. So we're starting to see that
Is
return
also
to
who?
normalcy. We wanna
Oh,
bring
I was
in
gonna say, who's wearing
NBC's
masks?
political
Ralph,
director
that
and
Nader?
moderator of Meet the Press,
Who else
Chuck
is wearing a
Todd, and
mask?
Chief Washington correspondent Andrea Mitchell.
And watching this, it struck me that it feels like we're about to see a wartime speech, but this country is not at war, but it is one that Americans certainly have followed with great interest. And have,
There's somebody with a
certainly
Ukraine
felt the
flag, like they're
pain
making a
and some of
huge
the
stand.
soul-crushing moments we've witnessed from that part
You can
of the
already see
world.
the gifts tomorrow. It's just a bit.
You know, it's interesting. The president actually has an opportunity tonight. That
Like
I
my
don't think
GIF
he
I
would
just
have
created
had
right
2
here.
weeks ago, which is more people are going to tune into the speech.
Is there anything
It's gonna
more
be a
annoying
little
than
less
Chuck
of a
Todd?
partisan audience. You know, the past few states of the union have very much, you could almost feel, you see it where, you know, if one party watches its president and the
Gaps,
other party
yeah.
doesn't. Tonight, with the uncertainty of what's going on in Ukraine, the uncertainty of the threats from Putin, the president has an opportunity to talk to some people he hasn't perhaps been able to talk to in a while. Now, that's the challenge, of course, of this speech is to see if what he says penetrates the public. I think he's had a hard time.
We'll get a gaff counter.
And getting them to listen to what he has to say in domestic politics.
Is there? I'm
think
thinking about the word of the
this
day
is
being
his wheelhouse.
inflation. Can you guys
This
think
is
of a better
what
word of the
he
day?
has, in some ways, been
That
preparing
we're all gonna
his whole
scream to
professional life
if he
for,
says
is
it?
this moment to manage a crisis in Europe. So he's perhaps
I know nothing
ready
too.
for this
Same.
moment.
Banty, what up?
So the opportunity tonight to meet it.
And as I turn to you, Andrea, our chief foreign affairs correspondent, I mean, this is a moment for history. This is a
I'm eating
moment where
steak.
the president is likely to talk about the forces for democracy versus the forces
My
of
last
a
bite, I
dictator,
swear to God.
and set it in quite stark terms.
And he's hoping, as we see the president handing the speech, the text to
So
the vice
good.
president, of course, and the Speaker of the House,
He'll say it's the
hoping
strongest
that
economy.
all
Yeah, I
the
know you.
Republican
I know.
criticism that he
He's gonna
did
do
not
a
move
victory
quickly
lap.
enough to arm Ukraine will now be resolved because they have taken decisive action.
High privilege and
I'm so-
distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
Is there anything worse than
And Savannah,
P.S. I have a new character.
Of bipartisanship.
I have a new character that I'm going to roll out soon, guys, by the way.
Bipartisanship, politics stopping at the water's edge on foreign policy.
It's very blue and yellow out there already in that crowd. You can see there was a lot of blue and yellow among members.
And they're wearing pins, the Ukrainian flag with the U.S. flag.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, guys. Like, share, subscribe.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you all very, very much. Thank you. Please.
I need something to cope with as a White House. I love that White
Madam
House
Speaker,
resident.
Madam Vice President, our First Lady and Second Gentlemen, members of Congress and the Cabinet, Justices of the Supreme Court, my fellow Americans. Last year, COVID-19 kept us apart. This year, we're finally together again. Tonight,
There's that first victory lap.
tonight we meet as Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, but most importantly, as Americans, with the duty to one another, to America, to the American people, to the Constitution, and an unwavering resolve that freedom will always triumph over tyranny.
Sherry, I really appreciate those kind words.
Thank you. 6 days ago, Russia's Vladimir Putin sought to shake the very foundations of the free world, thinking he could make it bend to his menacing ways.
This is too much
But
clapping,
he
you're right.
badly miscalculated. He thought he could roll into Ukraine and the world would roll over. Instead, he met with a wall of strength he never
There's one.
anticipated or imagined. He met the Ukrainian people.
There's one gaff. It's our counter.
And President Zelensky, to every Ukrainian, their fearlessness, their courage, their determination literally inspires the world. Groups of citizens blocking tanks with their bodies. Everyone from students to retirees to teachers turned soldiers defending their homeland. And in this struggle, President Zelensky said in his speech to the European Parliament, "Light will win over darkness." The Ukrainian ambassador to the United States is here tonight, sitting with the First Lady. Let each of us, if you're able to stand and send an unmistakable signal to the world of Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Come on, man.
She's bright, she's strong, she's resolved.
Oh, a teacher's embrace.
Yes. We, the United States of America, stand with the Ukrainian people. Throughout our history, we've learned this lesson. When dictators do not pay a price for their aggression, they cause more chaos. They keep moving, and the cost, the threats to America and America to the world keeps rising. That's why the NATO alliance was created, to secure peace and stability in Europe after World War II. The United States is a member, along with 29 other nations. It
That was
matters.
close.
American diplomacy matters. American resolve matters. Putin's latest attack on Ukraine was premeditated and totally unprovoked. He rejected repeated efforts at diplomacy. He thought the West and NATO wouldn't respond.
Oh, I hate Blinken.
He thought he could divide us at home, in this chamber, in this nation. He thought he could divide us in Europe as well. But Putin was wrong. We are ready. We are united, and that's what we did. We stayed united. We prepared, extensively and carefully. We spent months building coalitions of other freedom-loving nations in Europe and the Americas, from America to the Asian and African continents.
There's another one.
To confront Putin.
2.
Like many of you, I spent countless hours unifying our European allies. We shared with the world in advance what we knew Putin was planning and precisely how we would try to falsify and justify his
Thank
aggression.
you, DH. Keep me accountable.
We countered Russia's lies with the truth. And now that he's acted, the free world is holding him accountable.
There's another one.
Along with 27 members of the European Union, including France, Germany, Italy, as well as countries like the United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and many others, even Switzerland.
Yeah, do that, Sherry.
Inflicting pain on Russia and supporting the people of Ukraine. Putin is now isolated from the world more than he has ever been. Together.
What up, Max? That 3 world, baby.
Together, along with our allies, we are right now enforcing powerful economic sanctions. We're cutting off Russia's largest banks from the international financial system.
100%.
Preventing Russia's central bank from defending the Russian ruble.
Ooh, that was a good one.
$630 billion
Ruber.
war fund worthless.
4.
We're choking Russia's access.
Is that worthless or wolfless?
I could. Russia's access to technology that will sap its economic strength and weaken its military for years to come. Tonight, I say to the Russian oligarchs and the corrupt leaders who built billions of dollars off this violent regime, no more. The United States.
Max said ain't random, brother. That is a daily thought.
The United States Department of Justice is assembling a dedicated task force to go after the crimes of the Russian oligarchs. We're joining with European allies to find and seize their
he's
yachts,
very
their
juiced
luxury
up.
apartments, their private jets. We're coming for you, ill-begotten gains. And tonight, I'm announcing that we will join
Joe
our
Biden's
allies
coming
in
for you.
closing off American airspace to all Russian flights, further isolating Russia and adding additional squeeze on their economy.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
He has no idea what's coming. The ruble has already lost 30% of its value.
He's so fearless.
The Russian stock market has lost 40% of its value, and trading remains suspended. The Russian economy is reeling, and Putin alone is the one to blame. Together with our allies, we're providing support to the Ukrainians in their fight for freedom. Military assistance,
barely gotten gains.
economic assistance, humanitarian assistance. We're giving more than $1 billion of direct assistance to Ukraine, and will continue to aid the Ukrainian people as they defend their country and help ease their suffering. But let me be clear. Our forces are not engaged and will not engage in the conflict with Russian forces in Ukraine.
That sound like one too.
Our forces are not
Clown
going
fic.
to Europe to fight Ukraine.
God, we're going. If we get to 100, I'm gonna scream.
Decides to keep moving west. For that purpose, we have mobilized American ground forces, air squadrons, ship deployments to protect NATO countries, including Poland, Romania, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. And as I've made crystal clear, the United States and our allies will defend every inch of territory that is NATO territory with the full force of our collective power. Every single inch.
George is getting upset.
And we're clear-eyed. The Ukrainians are fighting back with pure courage. But the next few days, weeks, and months will be hard on them. Putin has unleashed violence and chaos. But while he may make gains on the battlefield, he'll pay a continuing high price over the long run. And a pound of Ukrainian people, the proud, proud people, pound for pound, ready to fight with every inch of energy they have. They've known 30 years of independence, have repeatedly shown that they will not tolerate anyone who tries to take their country backwards. To all Americans, I'll be honest with you, as I always promised I would be. A Russian dictator invading a foreign country
that was a good one.
has cost around the world. And I'm taking robust action to make sure the pain of our sanctions is targeted at Russian economy and that we use every tool at our disposal to protect American businesses and consumers. Tonight, I can announce the United States has worked with 30 other countries to release 60 million barrels of oil from reserves around the world. America will lead that effort, releasing 30 million barrels of our own strategic petroleum reserve. And we stand ready to do more if necessary, united with our allies.
Max, you're my hero, dude.
These steps will help blunt gas prices here at home, but I know news about what's happening can seem alarming to all Americans. But I want you to know, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay.
Nancy doesn't have to listen to the small club if she made money.
Putin's war in Ukraine will have left Russia weaker and the rest of the world stronger. While it shouldn't,
she's smiling so much.
Well, it shouldn't have taken something so terrible for people around the world to see what's at stake. Now everyone sees it clearly. We see the unity among leaders of nations, a more unified Europe, a more unified West. We see unity among the people who are gathering in cities and large crowds around the world, even in Russia.
Oh, he would not remember anything like that.
Ukraine. In the battle between democracy and autocracies, democracies are rising to the moment, and the world is clearly choosing the side of peace and security. This is the real test, and it's going to take time.
He did die 3
So
years
let us
ago.
continue to draw inspiration from the iron will of the Ukrainian people. To our fellow Ukrainian Americans who forged the deep bond that connects our two nations, we stand with you. We stand with you. Putin may circle Kyiv with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people. He'll never extinguish their love of freedom, and he will never, never weaken the resolve of the free world.
Kamala just looks constipated.
I'll have what she's had.
We meet tonight in an America that has lived through two of the hardest years this nation has ever faced. The pandemic has been punishing, and so many families are living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to keep up with the rising cost of food, gas, housing, and so much more. I understand, like many of you did. My dad had to leave his home in Scranton,
Oh, God, here we
Pennsylvania to
go.
find work.
Before I was a multimillionaire, I remember what it's like for you.
Went up, it was felt throughout the family. It had an impact. That's when one of the first things I did as president was fight to pass the American Rescue Plan. Because people
Nothing
were hurting.
constipates like freedom.
We needed to act, and we did. Few pieces of legislation have done more at a critical moment in our history.
That's so messed up,
to
BP.
lift us out of a crisis. It fueled our efforts to vaccinate the nation and combat COVID-19. Delivered immediate economic relief to tens of millions of Americans. It helped put food on the table. Remember those long lines of cars waiting for hours just to get a box of food put in their trunk. It cut the cost of health care insurance. And as my dad used to say, it gave the people just a little bit of breathing room.
Oh, God.
Unlike the $2 trillion tax cut passed in the previous administration that benefited the top 1% of Americans, the American Rescue Plan helped working people and left no one behind.
Oh, my God. Shut up.
And it worked.
I was trying to think what to write above. Come on, what should I write? Wino is perfect.
It worked. We created jobs, lots
Oh,
of jobs.
gag?
In fact,
Oh,
our
my
economy
God, that's too-
created over
that's too serious.
6.5 million new jobs just last year. More jobs in 1 year than ever before in the history of the United States of America. The economy grew at a rate of 5.7 last year, the strongest growth rate in 40 years.
Oh, there he is. There's
First
that
step
victory
to bringing
lap.
Fundamental change to our economy.
Come
It hasn't
on,
worked
man.
for working people in this
What a
nation
liar.
for too long. For the past 40 years,
Mitch
we were
McConnell.
told the tax break for those at the top and benefits would trickle down, and everyone would know
I
that
think
would
it is
benefit.
Stephen King.
But that trickle-down theory led to a weaker economic growth, lower wages, bigger deficits, and a widening gap between the top and everyone else in nearly a century.
Oh, that's a gaff.
Vice President Harris and I ran for office, and I realize we have fundamental disagreements on this, but ran for office with a new economic vision for America. Invest in America.
The economy.
Educate Americans.
Yeah,
Grow the
it is
workforce.
crazy. It's crazy how
Grow the
people just
economy from
accept
the
that as
bottom
truth.
up and the middle out, not from the top down.
Let's just be
Because we
real.
know. Because we know. Because we know when the middle class grows, the poor will way up and the wealthy do very well.
Right.
America
That's why
used to
tax
have the
breaks
best
work.
roads, bridges, and airports on Earth. And now our infrastructure is ranked 13th in the world. We won't be able to compete for the jobs of the 21st century if we don't fix it. That's why it was so important to pass the bipartisan infrastructure law.
I can't with the jobs.
Thank
I
my
know.
Republican friends to join.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
Rebuild America. The single biggest investment in history.
PD.
Bipartisan effort, and I want to thank the members of both parties who worked to
I thought
make
he
it
was still
happen.
on paternity leave.
We're done talking about infrastructure weeks. We're now talking about an infrastructure
I know.
decade.
Infrastructure decade? What does that even mean?
It's going to transform America to put us on a path to win the economic competition of the 21st century that we face with the rest of the world, particularly China. I've told Xi Jinping
China.
it's never been a good bet to bet against the American people. We'll create good jobs for millions of Americans, modernizing roads, airports, ports, waterways, all across America. And we'll do it to withstand
Oh, he
the
would have passed. He
devastating
would have
effects
said-
of climate change and promote environmental justice.
He probably
We'll
gave the
build a
teacher $1 million.
national network of 500,000 electric vehicle charging stations. Begin to replace the poisonous lead pipes so every child, every American has clean water to drink at home and at school.
Yes,
We're
Joe.
going to provide affordable, high-speed internet for every
Ted looks
American.
bored. Yeah. Can you imagine?
Rural, suburban, urban, and tribal communities. 4,000 projects have already been announced. Many of you have announced them in your districts. And tonight, I'm announcing that this year,
Keep me
we will
accountable
start
on the
fixing
gaffes,
over
guys.
65,000 miles of highway and 1,500 bridges
That was
in
close.
disrepair. And folks,
Infrastructure decade, I know.
when we use
Poor kids, it's just it's right
taxpayers'
there.
dollars to rebuild America, we're going to do it by buying America. Buy American products.
I mean, sincerely, who voted for this guy?
American jobs.
Nobody in on this chat voted for this guy.
The federal government spends about $600 billion a year to keep this country safe and secure. There's been a law on the books for almost a century to make sure taxpayers' dollars support American jobs and businesses. Every administration, Democrat and Republican, says they'll do it, but we're actually doing it.
Oop, that was
We'll
one.
buy America to make sure
We'll buy America.
everything from the deck of
I'm counting that one.
to the steel on
You ain't
highway
buying in America.
guardrails is made in America from beginning to end. All of it.
Ted Cruz
All of
cameo.
it. But
Folks, I'm not kidding.
to compete for the jobs of the future, we also need a level playing field with China and other competitors. That's why it's so important to pass the Bipartisan Innovation Act sitting in Congress that will make record investments in emerging
That's not gonna pass.
technologies and American manufacturing. We used to invest almost 2% of our GDP in research and development. We don't now. China is. Let me
That
give
was
you one
one.
example why it's so important.
Can't China is? What does that even mean?
If you travel 20 miles east of Columbus, Ohio,
$30 million.
you'll find 1,000 empty acres of land.
Gotta have those crack pipes.
It won't look like much, but if you stop and look closely, you'll see a field of dreams.
Okay.
The ground on which America's future will be built. That's where Intel, the American company that helped build Silicon Valley, is going to build a $20 billion semiconductor megasite. Up to 8 state-of-the-art factories in one place. 10,000 new jobs.
I need him to whisper again.
And in those factories, the average job about $135,000 a year.
There's another one.
Some of the most sophisticated manufacturing in the world to make computer chips the size
there's
of
another
a
one.
fingertip. The power of the world in everyday lives. From smartphones, technology, the internet, technology is yet to be invented.
Another one. God, he's
It's just
ramping
the
him up.
beginning. Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger, who is here tonight. I don't know where Pat is. Pat, there you go. Pat, stand up.
Why aren't every single one of these smoldering yet? I don't know. Here we go.
Pat came to see me, and he told me they're ready to increase their
His
investment
juice is wearing off.
from $20 billion to $100 billion. That would be the biggest investment in manufacturing in American history. And all they're waiting for is for you to pass this bill. So
You're
let's
a
not
lying
wait
dog
any
faced
longer.
pony soldier.
Send it to my desk. I'll sign it. And we'll really take off in a big way.
Fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because
Intel is not alone. There's something happening in America. Just look around and you'll see an amazing story. The rebirth of pride that comes from stamping products made in America. The revitalization of American manufacturing. Companies are choosing to build new factories here when just a few years ago they would have gone overseas. That's what's happening. Ford is investing $11 billion in electric vehicles, creating 11,000 jobs across the country. GM is making the largest investment in its history, $7 billion to build electric vehicles, creating 4,000 jobs in Michigan.
It's like Ricky Bobby.
All told,
I don't know what to do with my hands.
369,000
All right, you guys ready to see what I do for Kamala Harris?
Last year alone. Folks, powered by people I've met like JoJo Burgess from generations of union steelworkers.
There's
in
another one.
Pittsburgh, who's here with us tonight. Where are you, JoJo?
Oh, there's another one.
There you
16.
go. Thanks, buddy. As Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown says, Sherrod Brown says it's time to
Guys,
bury the label.
whoever did
Rust
this is
Belt.
not funny. It's not funny whoever wrote that on my screen.
To see the what used to be called the Rust Belt become
I'm counting that as like 3.
the home.
Oh, that's like 20.
Significant.
Okay, 21,
resurgence in
22.
manufacturing. And with all the
That was
bright
like
spots
6
in
gaps in a
our
row.
economy, record job growth, higher wages. Too many families are struggling to keep up with their bills. Inflation is robbing them of gains they thought otherwise they would be able to feel. I get it. That's why my top priority is getting prices under control. Look, our economy roared back faster than almost anyone predicted.
That's one.
But the pandemic meant that businesses had a hard time hiring enough people because of the pandemic to keep up production in their factories. So you didn't have people making those beams that went in the buildings.
Inflation
because
that it
they were
caused.
out.
I know.
The factory was
Oh,
closed.
there's another one.
The panic also disrupted the global supply chain.
God, I can't keep up with these
Factories
calves.
close. When that happens,
That's
it takes
close.
longer to make goods and get them to the warehouses, to the stores, and prices go up. Look at cars last year. 1/3 of all the inflation was because of automobile sales.
Oh,
There
yeah.
weren't enough semiconductors to make all the cars.
Oh
that
my
people wanted
God.
to buy.
I know. Inflation was because of cars.
Prices of automobiles went way up, especially used vehicles as well. And so we have a choice.
I'll count that.
One way to fight inflation is to drive down wages and make Americans poorer.
Shut down
I
the...
think I have a better idea to fight inflation.
Yeah, exactly.
Lower your costs, not your wages.
What?
Folks,
Oh, he's blaming the corporations. It was like, lower your costs, not your wages. What is
make
that?
more cars and semiconductors in America.
Oh my God.
Infrastructure and innovation in America. More goods moving faster and cheaper in America.
Oh, it's because they have the speech.
More jobs where you can earn a good living in America. Instead of relying on foreign supply chains, let's make it in America. Look, economists.
You have the free market to make it in America, not the government.
Economists call this increasing the productive capacity of our economy.
I needed that tonight.
I call it.
There's enough Adderall in the world.
Better America. My plan to fight inflation will lower your costs and lower the deficit. 17 Nobel laureates in economics.
Oh, how about
said
gas and
my
oil?
plan will ease long-term inflationary pressures. Top business leaders, and I believe most Americans support the plan. And here's the plan. First, cut the cost of prescription drugs.
Yeah. Just cut it.
We pay more for the same drug.
Yeah, shut down the pipeline.
Produced by the same company.
It only helps
in
us.
America and any other country in the world. Just look
You're a
at
lying
insulin.
dog-faced pony.
1 in 10 Americans has diabetes. In Virginia, I met a 13-year-old boy, the handsome young man standing up there, Joshua Davis.
Look at that little diabetes.
He and his dad both have type 1 diabetes, which means they need insulin every single day. Insulin costs about $10 a vial to make.
Bishoy does get it. Bishoy.
The pharmaceutical
Bishoy's
company.
Bay.
But drug companies charge families like Joshua and his dad up to 30 times that amount. I spoke with Joshua's mom. Imagine what it's like to look at your child who needs insulin to stay healthy.
A
And have
13-foot
no idea
tall
how in God's
boy.
name you're going to be able to pay for it. What it does to your family, but what it does to your dignity, your ability to look your child in the eye, to be the parent you expect yourself to be.
Come on, whisper,
I really
Joe.
mean to think about that.
Whisper.
That's what I think about. You know, yesterday, Joshua's here tonight, but yesterday was his birthday. Happy birthday, buddy, by the way. For Joshua,
He's suited.
and 200,000 other young people with type 1 diabetes, let's cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month. So everyone can afford it.
Yeah.
And drug companies will do very, very well. Their profit margin.
Amazing. He's like a king. Just
While we're at it, I know we have
lower
great
the-
disagreements on this floor with this.
lower the
Let's
cost.
let Medicare negotiate the price of prescription drugs.
Yeah, Medicare. I want
They already
government to solve my problems.
set the price for VA drugs. Look, the American Rescue Plan is helping millions of families with Affordable Care Act plans to save them $2,400 a year on their health premiums. Let's close the coverage gap and make these savings
He is getting his
permanent.
medications.
And second, let's cut energy costs for families, an average of $500 a year by combating climate change. Let's provide an investment tax credits to weatherize your home and your business, to be energy efficient and get a tax credit for it. Double America's clean energy production in solar, wind, and so much more. Lower the price of electric vehicles, saving another $80 a month that you're not going to have to pay at the pump. Folks. Third.
Oh my God.
The third thing we can do to change
I hope that
the
doesn't
standard
come
of
true.
living for hardworking
Sorry, I put that
folks
picture on.
is cut the cost of child care. Cut the cost of child care. Folks, if you live in a major city in America, you pay up to $14,000 a year for child care per child.
Yeah, clean
I was a
lithium
single dad
mines.
for 5 years, raising 2 kids. I had a lot of help, though.
Yeah.
I had a mom, a dad,
A maid.
a brother, and a sister that really helped. But middle class and working folks shouldn't have to pay more than 7%.
I'm sorry, Max, I know.
Young children. My plan would cut the cost of child care in half for most families and help parents, including millions of women who left the workforce during the pandemic.
Millions of women.
They couldn't afford child care.
As always, guys, if you want to support my show, you go to buymeacoffee.com/JerichoStayShow. Link is in the description below.
My plan doesn't stop there. It also includes home and long-term care, more affordable housing, pre-K for 3- and 4-year-olds. All these will lower costs to families. And under my plan, nobody, let me say this again, nobody earning less than $400,000 a year will pay an additional penny in new taxes.
Exactly.
Not a single penny.
I'm thankful the rich people will just pass it down to us. But he's right.
But my guess is if we took a secret ballot in this floor, that we'd all agree that the present tax system ain't fair.
Yeah, look at the person right behind you.
I'm not looking to punish anybody. But let's make corporations and wealthy Americans start paying their fair share. Look.
And politicians.
Last year, like Chris Coons and Tom Carper and my distinguished Congresswoman, we come from the land of corporate America. There are more corporations incorporated in America than every other state in America combined. And I still won 36 years in a row. The point is, even they understand they should pay just a fair share. Last year, 55 of the Fortune 500 companies.
Come on, whisper for us.
$40 billion in profit and paid $0 in federal taxes. Now look, it's not fair. That's why I proposed a 15% minimum tax rate for corporations. We've got, and that's why in the G7 and other meetings overseas, we're able to put
Kamala didn't even clap for that.
Somewhat helpful. 130 countries agree on a global minimum tax rate. So companies can't get out of paying their taxes at home by shipping jobs and factories overseas. It'll raise billions of dollars. That's why I propose closing loopholes for the very wealthy who pay a lower tax rate than a teacher and a firefighter.
Like right behind you.
That's my plan, but we'll go more detail later. We will grow the economy.
Oop, that's another one.
Lower the cost of families. So what are we waiting for?
Just what are you waiting for?
We all know we've got to make changes. Folks, and while you're at it, confirm my nominees for the Federal Reserve, which plays a critical role in fighting inflation. My plan will not only lower costs and give families a fair share, it will lower the deficit. The previous administration not only ballooned the deficit with those tax cuts for the very wealthy and corporations, it undermined the watchdogs, the job of those to keep pandemic relief funds being wasted. Remember we had those debates about whether or not those watchdogs should be able to see every day how much money was being spent, where was it going to the right place? But in my administration, the watchdogs
lying dog-faced pony soldier.
And we're going to go after the criminals who stole billions of relief money meant for small business and millions of Americans. Tonight, I'm announcing that the Justice Department will soon name a chief prosecutor for pandemic fraud.
Yay. We need more people to be put in jail.
I think we all agree. Thank you.
What about the politicians that get rich? Huh? Get those people.
Before I took office, the only president ever to cut the deficit by more than $1 trillion in a single year. Lowering your cost also meant demanding more competition. I'm a capitalist, but capitalism without competition is not capitalism. Capitalism without competition is exploitation. It drives up profits.
I love it when he whispers.
Corporations have to compete. Their profits go up and your prices go up when they don't have to compete. Small businesses and family farmers and ranchers, I need not tell some of my Republican friends from those states. Guess what?
Chicken
We've
butt.
got 4 basic meat packing facilities. That's it. You play with them or you don't get to play at all. And you pay a hell of a lot more. A hell of a lot more because there's only 4. See what's happening with ocean carriers and moving goods in and out of America. During the pandemic, about half a dozen or less foreign-owned companies raised prices by as much as 1,000% and made record profits. Tonight, I'm announcing a crackdown on those companies overcharging American businesses and consumers. And folks, and as Wall Street firms take over more nursing homes, quality in those homes has gone down and costs have gone up.
Yeah, he's worried about that.
That ends on my watch.
Oh.
Medicare is going to set higher standards for nursing homes and make sure your loved ones get the care they deserve and that they inspect and they will look at closely. We're also going to cut costs to keep the economy going strong and giving workers a fair shot, provide more training and apprenticeships, hire them based on skills, not just their degrees. Let's pass the Paycheck Fairness Act and paid leave.
Oh, here's that whisper.
Minimum wage to $15 an hour. And extend the child tax credit so no one has to raise a family in poverty. Let's increase Pell Grants, increase our historic support for HBCUs, and invest in what Jill, our First Lady who teaches full-time, calls America's best-kept secret, community college. Look, let's pass
he's such a record.
Workers want to form a union, they shouldn't be able to be stopped. When we invest in our workers and we build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out together, we can do something we haven't done in a long time. Build a better America. For more than 2 years, COVID has impacted every decision in our lives and the life of this nation. And I know you're tired, frustrated, and exhausted. That doesn't even count the close to 1 million people who sit at a dining room table or a kitchen table and look at an empty chair because they lost somebody. But I also know this, because of the progress we've made, because of your resilience and the tools that we have been provided by this Congress, tonight I can say we're moving forward safely back to more normal routines.
Well, that was tough.
We've reached a new moment in the fight against COVID-19, where severe cases are down to a level not seen since July of last year. Just a few days ago, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention issued a new mask guidelines. Under the new guidelines, most Americans,
what a coincidence,
in most of the country, can now go mask-free. And based on projections,
they don't know whether to clap at that or not.
The country will reach a point across the next couple of weeks. And thanks to the progress we've made in the past year, COVID-19 no longer need control our lives. I know some are talking about living with COVID-19, but tonight I say that we never will just accept living with COVID-19. We'll continue to combat the virus as we do other diseases. And because this virus mutates and spreads, we have to stay on guard. And here are 4 common sense steps as we move forward safely, in my view. First, stay protected with vaccines and treatments. We know how incredibly effective vaccines are. If you're vaccinated and boosted, you have the highest degree of protection. And we'll never give up on vaccinating more Americans. Now, I know parents with kids under 5 are eager to see their vaccines authorized for their children. Scientists are working hard to get that done. We'll be ready with plenty of vaccines if and when they do. We're all ready. We are also ready with antiviral treatments. If you get COVID-19, the Pfizer pill reduces your chances of ending up in the hospital by 90%. I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world has. Pfizer is working overtime to get us 1 million pills this month and more than double that next month. And now we're launching the Test to Treat initiative. So people can get tested at a pharmacy, and if they prove positive, receive the antiviral pills on the spot at no cost. And folks, if you're If you're immunocompromised or have some other vulnerability, we have treatments and free high-quality masks. We're leaving no one behind or ignoring anyone's needs as we move forward. On testing,
where do you get those
we've
free
made
masks?
Hundreds of millions of tests available, and you can order them for free to your doorstep. And we've already ordered free tests. If you already ordered free tests tonight, I'm announcing you can order another group of tests. Go to covidtest.gov starting next week, and you can get more tests. Second, we must prepare for new variants. Over the past, we've gotten much better at detecting new variants. If necessary, we'll be able to develop new vaccines within 100 days instead of maybe months or years. And if Congress provides the funds we need, we'll have new stockpiles of tests, masks, pills ready if needed. I can't promise a new variant won't come, but I can promise you we'll do everything within our power to be ready if it does. Third, we can end the shutdown of schools and businesses. We have the tools we need. It's time for America to get back to work and fill our great downtowns again with people. People working from home can feel safe and begin to return to their offices. We're doing that here in the federal government. The vast majority of federal workers will once again work in person. Our schools are open. Let's keep it that way. Our kids need to be in school.
Oh, now they want us to be in school.
With 75% of adult Americans fully vaccinated and hospitalizations down by 77%, most Americans can remove their masks and stay in the classroom and move forward safely. We achieved this because we provided free vaccines, treatments, tests, and masks. Of course, continuing this costs money. So I'll not surprise you. I'll be back to see you all. And I'm going to soon send a request to Congress.
We need more money spent.
Americans have used these tools and may want again. We may need them again. So I expect Congress, and I hope you'll pass that quickly. Fourth, we'll continue vaccinating the world. We've sent 475 million vaccine doses to 112 countries, more than any nation on earth. We won't stop.
Free market.
Because you can't build a wall high enough to keep out a vaccine. The vaccine can stop
that was like
the spread of these diseases. You know, we've lost so much in COVID-19. Time with one another. The worst of all, much the loss of life. Let's use this moment to reset. So stop looking at COVID as a partisan dividing line. See it for what it is. A god-awful disease. Let's stop seeing each other as enemies and start seeing each other for who we are, fellow Americans. Look.
You are the reason people and the people behind you. What? I hope people remember this kind of crap. This is. Remember how they talk about you.
We can't change how divided we've been.
Because of
you.
you.
Long time in coming. But we can change how to move forward on COVID-19 and other issues that we must face together. I recently visited New York City Police Department days after the funerals of Officer Wilbur Mora and his partner, Officer Jason Rivera. They were responding to a 9/11 call when a man shot and killed them with a stolen gun. Officer Mora was 27 years old. Officer Rivera was 22 years old. Both Dominican Americans who grew up in the same streets that they later chose to patrol as police officers.
Got that parole.
I spoke with their families, and I told them they were forever in debt for their sacrifices and will carry on their mission to restore the trust and safety of every community deserves. Like some of you that have been around for a while, I've worked with you on these issues for a long time. I know what works. Investigating crime prevention and community policing, cops who walk the beat, who know the neighborhood, and who can restore trust and safety. Let's not abandon our streets or choose between safety and equal justice. Let's come together and protect our communities, restore trust, and hold law enforcement accountable. That's why the Justice Department has required body cameras, banned chokeholds, and restricted no-knock warrants for its officers. That's why the American Rescue Plan that you all provided $350 billion that cities, states, and counties can use to hire more police, invest in more proven strategies. Proven strategies like community violence interruption, trusted messengers, breaking the cycle of violence and trauma, and giving young people some hope. We should all agree the answer is not to defund the police, it's to fund the police. Fund them.
Let's see who's standing up.
Fund
Where's
them.
AOC and the squad? Where are they?
Fund them
Like
with
it's 3 strikes, bro.
resources and
Exactly.
training. Resources and training they need to protect our communities. I asked Democrats
They didn't
and
show
Republicans
AOC.
alike
Huh.
to pass my
Interesting.
budget and keep our neighborhoods safe. And we'll do everything
Only to
in my
arrest
power
peaceful
to crack down on
protesters.
gun
Exactly.
trafficking, of ghost guns that you
Oh,
can
yeah.
buy online.
Get those
assemble
ghost
at
guns.
home.
Those
No
3D
serial
guns.
numbers. Can't be traced. I asked Congress to pass proven measures to reduce gun violence. Pass universal background
That
checks.
doesn't-
Why should anyone on the terrorist list be able to purchase a weapon?
We have
Why?
background checks already.
Why?
There are already background checks.
And folks,
AOC
ban
looking
assault
good.
weapons with high-capacity magazines hold up to 100 rounds. You think the deer are wearing Kevlar vests?
Oh, there's one.
Look, repeal
Oh,
liability
the
shield.
Kevlar
It makes
vest
gun
joke
manufacturers
again.
The only
How
industry
many times is he
in
gonna
America
say that crap?
Can't be sued. The only one.
Hey.
Imagine had we done that with the tobacco manufacturers. These laws don't infringe on the Second Amendment. They save lives. The most
No, they
fundamental
don't.
right in America
Criminals
is the right to
will get
vote
guns.
and have it counted. And look, it's under assault. In state after state, new
Right.
laws have been passed. Not only to suppress the vote, we've been there before, but to subvert the entire election. We can't let this happen. Tonight I call on the Senate to pass the Freedom to Vote Act, pass the John Lewis Act. Voting Rights Act.
No, have a right to vote already.
And while you're at it, pass the Disclose Act so Americans know who's
Imagine
funding
keep-
our election. Look, tonight, I like to honor someone who dedicated his life to serve this country.
Oh no, here we go.
Justice Breyer,
Oh,
an Army veteran, constitutional scholar, retiring Justice of the United States Supreme Court.
we
Justice
forced you to
Breyer,
retire.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for retiring.
Thank you. I mean it.
Thank you for retiring.
Thank you. And we all know, no matter what your ideology, we all know one of the most serious constitutional responsibility a president has is nominating someone to serve on the United States Supreme Court. As I did 4 days ago, I've nominated the Circuit Court of Appeals, Ketanji Brown Jackson, one of our nation's top legal minds, who will continue in Justice Breyer's legacy of excellence. A former top litigator
of course they
in
are,
private
Sherry.
practice, a former federal public defender, from a family of public school educators and police officers. She's a consensus builder. Since she's been nominated, she's received a broad range of support, including the Fraternal Order of Police and former judges supported by Democrats and Republicans. Folks,
you crazy as
if we're to advance liberty and justice, we need to secure our border and fix the immigration system.
I don't know if she feels bad or not. I just feel like I would feel bad and I would feel embarrassed if I was chosen because of that. Totino.
And as you might guess, I think we can do both. At our border, we've installed new technology like cutting-edge scanners to better detect drug smuggling. We've set up joint patrols with Mexico and Guatemala to catch more human traffickers.
What was that, Mexico?
We're putting in place dedicated immigration judges, a significant larger number, so families fleeing persecution and violence can have their cases heard faster, and those who don't legitimately hear can be sent back. We're screening, we're securing commitments and supporting partners in South and Central America to host more refugees and secure their own borders. We can do all this while keeping lit the torch of liberty.
I couldn't figure out, Sherry.
A generation of immigrants to this land, my forebears and many of yours. Provide a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, those with temporary status, farm workers, essential workers. Revise our laws so businesses have workers they need and families don't wait decades to reunite. It's not only the right thing to do, it's economically smart thing to do. That's why the immigration reform is supported by everyone from labor unions to religious leaders to the
first official diversity appointment. That is so weird to me.
Let's get it done once and for all.
What an embarrassment.
Folks.
The white savior complex.
Advancing liberty and justice also
It did sound like they built the wall.
Protecting the rights of women. The constitutional right affirmed by Roe v. Wade, standing precedent for half a century, is under attack as never before.
Under attack.
If you want to go forward, not backwards, we must protect access to health care.
If you want to murder, you can murder.
To choose. And continue to advance maternal health care for all Americans. And folks,
Bathed.
for our LGBTQ plus Americans,
Mullah Chief did under the table.
Bipartisan Equality Act to my desk. The onslaught of state laws targeting transgender Americans and their families. It's simply wrong. I said last year, especially to our younger transgender Americans, I'll always have your back as your president so you can be yourself and reach your God-given potential.
I thought he was going to curse. Your God.
As I've just demonstrated, while it often appears we do not agree, and that we do agree on a lot more things than we acknowledge. I signed 80 bipartisan bills into law last year.
By executive order?
Government shutdowns, protecting Asian Americans.
Bishoy, how dare you?
Common hate crimes, to reforming military justice, and will soon be strengthening the Violence Against Women Act that I first wrote 3 decades ago. It's important. It's important for us to show the nation we can come together and do big things. So tonight I'm offering a unity agenda for the nation. 4 big things we can do together, in my view. First, beat the opioid epidemic.
Oop, there's one.
There's so much we can do. Increase funding for prevention, treatment, harm reduction, and recovery. Get rid of outdated rules and stop doctors and stop doctors prescribing.
That was like 51.
Treatments. Stop the flow of illicit drugs by working with state and local law enforcement to go after the traffickers. And if you're suffering from addiction, you know you should.
I don't know,
Totino.
Totino. He should mention it.
I believe in recovery, and I celebrate the 23 million Americans in recovery. Second, let's take on mental health, especially among our children whose lives and education have been
that you've ruined over the last year.
The American Rescue Plan gave schools money to hire teachers and help students make up for lost learning. I urge every parent to make sure your school does just that. They have the money. We can all play a
They
part.
aren't panning the crowd that much.
Or a mentor. Children were also struggling before the pandemic. Bullying, violence, trauma, and the harms of social media. As Frances Haugen, who is here tonight with us,
oh my God, Totino.
we must hold social media platforms accountable for the national experiment they're conducting on our children for profit. Folks, thank you. Thank you for the courage you showed. It's time to strengthen privacy protections.
Oops.
Ban targeted advertising to children. Demand tech companies stop collecting personal data on our children. And let's get all Americans they need. More people can turn for help. Parity between physical and mental
There we go.
health care.
His
If we treat it
sound
that
was
way
all
in our
weird.
insurance. Look. The third piece of that agenda is support our veterans. Veterans are the backbone and the spine of this country. They're the
Those
best
guys.
of us. I've always believed that we have a sacred obligation to equip those we send to war and care for
Cryptos.
those and their family when they come home. My administration is providing assistance in
Will
job
we get to
training,
100
housing,
gaps is the
and now
question.
helping lower-income veterans get VA care debt-free. And our troops in Iraq
I need you after the soda for a rematch.
face many dangers. One being stationed at bases breathing in toxic smoke from burn pits. Many of you have been there. I've been in and out of Iraq and Afghanistan
What
over
is
40
what is
times.
Nancy doing? I
These
think
burn
she's
pits
drunk.
Incinerate waste, the waste of war, medical and hazards material, jet fuel, and so much more. And they come home.
We can hear you, Nancy,
Many of the world's
talking.
fittest and best trained warriors in the world. Never the same. Headaches, numbness, dizziness.
Farts.
Cancer that would put them in a flag draped coffin.
A flag?
know.
A fag drake coffin?
One of those soldiers was my son, Major Bo Biden.
Oh, here we go.
I don't know for sure if the burn pit that he lived near, that his hooch was near in Iraq and earlier than that,
Uh-oh, he's
Kosovo,
starting to go down.
is the cause of his brain cancer, the disease of so many other troops. But I am committed to find out everything we can. Committed to military families like Danielle Robinson from Ohio, the widow of Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson. He was born a soldier, Army National Guard, combat medic in Kosovo and Iraq, stationed near Baghdad, just yards from burn pits the size of football fields. Danielle is here with us tonight.
Who's got the hooch?
They love going to Ohio State football games.
Boo, Ohio State. Boo.
And they love building Legos with their daughter. But cancer from prolonged exposure to burn pits ravaged Heath's lungs and body. Danielle says Heath was a fighter to the very end. He didn't know how to stop fighting, and neither did she. Through her pain, she found
She's like
purpose
looking at the script like,
to
how much
demand
more is
that we
this?
do better. Tonight, Danielle, we are going to do better. The VA is pioneering new ways of linking toxic exposure to disease.
He is losing it.
Already helping more veterans get
Oh,
benefits.
there's
And
another one.
tonight, I'm announcing we're expanding eligibility to veterans suffering from 9 respiratory cancers. I'm also calling on Congress to pass a law to make sure veterans devastated by toxic exposure in Iraq and
She's like
Afghanistan
reading the
finally
note.
get the
She's like
benefits
ready
of the
to
comprehensive
stand.
health care they deserve.
She's like reading it before he even says it. She's like, I'm getting up to stand. I'm getting ready. Oh, sorry.
And fourth,
You're loved, Sherry.
last, let's end cancer as we know it. This is personal.
Vam today. Hey. Привет, Stanley. Привет. Oh, did he just say let's end cancer?
This is personal to me and to Jill and to Kamala.
Let's end cancer.
So many of you. So
Let's-
many of you have lost
let's
someone
stop
you love.
death.
Husband, wife, son, daughter, mom,
Her
dad.
Xanax is wearing off.
Cancer is the #2 cause of death in America, second only to heart disease.
Oh,
Last
we should
month,
stop. We should talk about heart
I
disease.
announced the plan to supercharge the cancer moonshot that President Obama asked me to lead 6 years ago. Our goal is to cut cancer death rates by at least 50% over the next 25
You're a
years.
lying
I
dog
think we
faced
can do
pony
better than
soldier.
that.
Wow.
Turn cancers from death sentences into treatable diseases. More support for patients and their families. To get there, I call on Congress to fund what I called ARPA-H, Advanced Research Projects
Go for a walk.
Agency for Health, patterned after DARPA in the Defense Department. Projects that led in DARPA to the internet, GPS, and so much more to make our forces more safer and be able to wage war with more clarity. ARPA will have a singular purpose: to drive breakthroughs in cancer, Alzheimer's and diabetes, and more. A unity agenda for the nation. We can do these things. It's within our power, and I don't see a partisan edge to any one of those four things. My fellow Americans, tonight,
how are you against cancer?
We've gathered in this sacred space.
Who's for cancer in here? Clap.
The citadel of democracy. In this capital, generation after generation of Americans have
I
debated
bet, Sherry.
questions.
Thank you for your service.
Amid great strife.
You're amazing.
And have done great things. We fought for freedom, expanded liberty, debated totalitarianism and terror. We built the strongest, freest, and most prosperous nation the world has ever known. Now is the hour, our moment of responsibility, our test of resolve and conscience, of history itself.
He's getting a little upset.
It is in this moment that our character of this generation is formed. Our purpose is found.
You're amazing.
Our future is forged.
Oh, God, please don't bring up
this
January
nation.
6th. Oh.
We'll meet the test.
Don't trigger me like that,
freedom
Max.
and liberty. Expand fairness and opportunity. And we will save democracy. As hard as those times have been, I'm more optimistic about America today than I've been my whole life, because I see the future that's within our grasp, because I know there's simply nothing beyond our capacity. We're the only nation on earth that has always turned
that was a gaffe.
every crisis we faced into an opportunity.
He probably will
the
talk.
The only nation that can be defined
Here we go.
by a single word: possibilities.
January 6th.
So on this night, on our 245th year as a nation,
A new world order.
I've
God.
come to report on the state of the nation, the state of the union.
Crazy
and
stuff.
My report is this.
Here we
the
go.
state of the union is strong because you, the American people, are strong. We are stronger today. We are stronger today than we were a year ago. And we'll be stronger a year from now than we are today. This is our moment to meet and overcome the challenges of our time. And we will, as one people, one America, the United States of America. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops.
Oh.
Thank you. Go get him.
Go get who? Go get him. What the frick?
President Biden speaking for a little over an hour in his
Go get
first
him.
State of the Union speech, spending about the first 10 or 11 minutes talking about...
Guys, what do you think of the State of the Union? Scale of 1 to 10. 0 being the worst, 10 being the best. What are you giving him?
...that have stood up to Vladimir Putin. But what we saw just a few minutes ago, about 6 minutes near the end of the speech, we heard an interruption in the crowd. A member of Congress, I want to go to NBC News senior Capitol Hill correspondent Garrett Haake, who's inside the chamber. What was that we heard as the president was beginning to talk about his late son, Beau?
Yeah, Lester, that was Republican Lauren Boebert from Colorado. As the president was talking about warriors in flag-draped coffins, she interjected 13 of them, I believe, a reference to the American servicemen and women who were killed in Afghanistan during
Max,
the withdrawal.
I appreciate the honesty.
She and Marjorie Taylor Greene, another Republican freshman, kept up something of a running commentary throughout much of the speech, interjecting in segments about immigration and segments about COVID, jumping up and clearly audible commentary, even as far away as I am upstairs in the gallery.
And it sounded like some were trying to shush her.
Yeah, there was definitely a reaction.
Where
They're
people
only a few seats away from the aisle, the center aisle of the chamber that separates the Democrats from the Republicans. There was definitely a significant reaction from those who heard her jumping in. Not entirely clear where it was coming from, but clearly an unwelcome interruption from most of the other folks in the chamber, Lester.
Garrett, thank you.
We want to turn to NBC's chief White House correspondent, Peter Alexander, who's been listening to this speech. It felt like the top of the speech was a rewrite in light of pressing events happening
There's
on the
one of
world
our
stage,
famous
but then
generals.
The remainder of it went along as most State of the Union addresses do, a laundry list of goals and aspirations and pressing lawmakers to pass his initiatives. So what was your take, Peter?
Yeah, Savannah, that was my take. This really did feel like two
Are they about to
different
make out? What was
speeches. The
that?
first
That made
15
me so
minutes in
uncomfortable
many ways
watching that.
Seemed like they were written for this moment, the U.S. and its allies.
I just can't take listening to them talk about him like he's a magical human being.
Support of the Ukrainian people. It was about as much bipartisan applause as you've seen in a chamber like that in a couple decades, dating back perhaps to the months and years that followed 9/11. The president saying that Vladimir Putin, he has no idea.
He is unfit for his uniform.
But what surprised me is how quickly he then pivoted to the domestic agenda, and in many ways sort of revisiting a lot.
Just so you guys are in the chat know, I am going to go live Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 p.m. Eastern to 11 Eastern every single week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. Eastern every single Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So come hang out with me as we watch the news and interact together. Just so you know. It was nauseating. It's exactly what you thought it was. I mean, State of the Union is always just like the most nauseating thing ever. Doesn't matter who's in power. It's like, even if the world is crap, they'd find a way to make it about them and how magical of a human being they are. But God, I can't stand that woman right there. Ugh. She's the worst. Get in their faces.
Unclear to whom he was referring there. Was that about Vladimir Putin or who else? I think in some ways I anticipate it might be more of an Oval Office type of address about foreign policy, but did become a bunch of laundry list as anything else after that.
Peter, thanks very much. It felt like a split-screen moment, not a literal one, but certainly that first 11 minutes as the president was talking about Ukraine, the imagery in our minds that we have all seen as he spoke about what was happening there. I want to go to Kyiv, Ukraine now, where our chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel is standing by. Richard?
So Ukrainians will be very flattered by what they heard. There was a lot of blue and yellow in the crowds, the colors of the Ukrainian flag, honoring the ambassador, celebrating.
Can I ask you guys a question that are still here? What do you guys think about the whole Ukraine crisis and how all the reporting I've seen has been from a hotel balcony? Not one of them have gotten like actual footage of fighting. Not one. It's very weird to me. I've never seen this in a war. Usually you see like half in and half out.
This country, the fellow Slavs,
simping hard focus on yourself, Keith.
Are Slavs, that the Russians are not only having their convoys slowed down because of technical difficulties, lack of fuel and lack of food and logistical problems, but in some cases, the Ukrainians will go up to those armored vehicles, young and old, and confront the Russian soldiers themselves and say, "Don't shoot."
That stuff coming, red herring, probably.
Are having moments of pause.
I hope not, man. I hope not a red herring.
Welcome and well received here in Kyiv.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've had enough. Thanks for the laughs. Sherry, I appreciate you so much. I hope you have a great night. And I appreciate you supporting me. It means a lot to me.
Sanctions and not the kind of specific help that the Ukrainians are asking for. Just a short time before President Biden gave the State of the Union, President Zelensky said...
Yeah, and the day of technology, it is weird. I mean, honestly, most of the footage I've seen is from TikTok videos, which is like, I don't get it. And we in a generation of how many wars we've been lied to about weapons of mass destruction, just countless things that we've been lied to. It just seems like it's hard to trust what's going on. It just is. And like the ghost of Kyiv and just like all these stories of like the 13 soldiers who end up actually they're alive. And I'm just like, there's so much going on that I just don't understand. And I don't trust. There's so much. It's very suspicious about Ukraine. Russia, I'm not buying into anything in the media. I don't buy into it either. I was starting to buy into it because I thought, you know what, maybe this war is different. But hey, Maxwell, you're the man, dude. I appreciate you, brother. A lot of BS. Yeah, it's hard to trust what's going on. I got wrapped into it at the beginning because I felt like maybe this war would be a little different for some stupid reason. And Like, never again. It's just so silly. You got to corroborate. You got to double check all your information these days. All these stories are whack, especially from from the corporate media, mainstream media. I know they pretend like you have a choice in what you're viewing. But you don't have a choice. It's all the same, just different people. They lie. Everything they say is just about a lie, including and in the.
This position, why we have these alliances, what it all means. And it just felt like an abrupt end after the 12 minutes of that. And it felt like, boy, we could have had more. There was more to say. I think there was more that the public would have. And then it turned, look, I do think it accomplished two important pieces of politics. Saying the phrases, secure our borders and fund our police. There are a lot of vulnerable Democrats and a lot of...
He is not going to secure the borders. It's such a lie.
Here, the leader of the Democratic Party
say
Chuck. Those two phrases.
The
politics of this. You're asking about Ukraine.
He's over there sniffing away.
It felt to me like it could have had a lot more.
Andrea, there was no reassurance when the president was talking about Ukraine. We heard a few days ago Vladimir Putin raise the specter of putting his forces on nuclear alert, recognizing that's a sensitive ground for the president to go on. But were you surprised that there wasn't a reassurance to the American people that we are going to be okay through this?
Well, I think the calculus there is, we're told, the president wants to de-emphasize that threat twice now from Vladimir Putin just in the last few days.
Oh, is he signing an autograph? Oh my God.
He could have done, which was to raise the alert on American nuclear forces.
Oh, and he's got a Texas tie on? No.
An anticipated response. Instead, he's trying to almost ignore it because he wants to de-emphasize it, de-escalate as they can, but to the point of...
All right, guys, I appreciate you guys so much for getting in this chat. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and it means so much to me. Again, I go live Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. Eastern, and I appreciate Max. Everyone that got in the chat, Sherry, Max, Bishoy, there's so many of you guys. I appreciate you guys for making tonight fun. It meant so much to me that you took time out of your day to hang out with me. As always, I'll catch you on the next episode of the Derek O'Shea Show.
Welcome to the revolution.